8. Melchisedec. The third person in the trio was Lottie. She was a small thing and could not understand why Sarah looked different, why she wore an old black dress and came into the schoolroom only to teach, instead of to sit in her place of honor and learn lessons herself. Lottie's main difficulty was that Sarah said so little when one asked her questions. "Are you very poor now, Sarah?" she had asked the first morning her friend came to teach French. "Are you as poor as a beggar?" She opened her round, tearful eyes. "I don't want you to be as poor as a beggar." She looked as if she was going to cry. "Beggars have nowhere to live," said Sarah courageously. "I have a place to live in." "Where do you live?" asked Lottie. "The new girl sleeps in your room, and it isn't pretty anymore." "I live in another room," said Sarah. "Is it a nice one?" inquired Lottie. "I want to go and see it." "You must not talk," said Sarah. "Miss Minchin is looking at us. She will be angry with me for letting you whisper." But Lottie was a determined little person. She decided to find out herself where Sarah lived. She talked to her small companions and listened to the elder girls when they were gossiping. One afternoon she started on a voyage of discovery and finally reached the attic floor. There she found two doors near each other, and opening one, she saw Sarah standing upon an old table and looking out of a window. "Sarah!" she cried aghast. "Mama Sarah!" She was aghast because the attic was so ugly and seemed so far away from all the world. Sarah turned round at the sound of her voice. It was her turn to be aghast. What would happen now? She jumped down from her table and ran to the child. "Don't cry and make a noise," she said. It's not such a bad room, Lottie." "Isn't it?" gasped Lottie. She was a spoiled child, but she was fond enough of her adopted parent to make an effort to control herself for her sake. Sarah hugged her close and tried to laugh. "You can see all sorts of things you can't see downstairs," she said. "What sort of things?" demanded Lottie, with curiosity. "Chimneys, quite close to us, and sparrows, hopping and talking to each other, just as if they were people, and other attic windows." "Oh, let me see it," cried Lottie. "Lift me up." Sarah lifted her up, and they stood on the old table together and looked out. The sky seemed so much nearer than when one saw it from the street that Lottie was fascinated. From the attic window, the things which were happening in the world below seemed almost unreal. One scarcely believed in the existence of Miss Minchin and Miss Amelia and the schoolroom. "Oh, Sarah," cried Lottie, "I like this attic. I like it. It is nicer than downstairs." "Look at that sparrow," whispered Sarah. "I wish I had some crumbs to throw to him." "I have some," cried Lottie. "I have part of a bun in my pocket. I bought it with my penny yesterday, and I saved a bit." When they threw out a few crumbs, the sparrow jumped and flew away to a chimney top. Then he saw that the thing which had alarmed him represented hospitality. He flew down and hopped toward the crumbs. Then he hopped nearer and nearer, seized the biggest crumb, and carried it away to the other side of his chimney. "Now he knows," said Sarah, "and he will come back for the others." He did come back, and even brought a friend, and the friend went away and brought a relative, and among them they had a good dinner. Lottie was so delighted that she quite forgot her first shocked impression of the attic. When Lottie left, Sarah sat down on the footstool and let her head drop in her hands. "It's a lonely place," she said. "Sometimes It's the loneliest place in the world." She was sitting in this way when her attention was attracted by a sound near her. She lifted her head to see where it came from, and saw a large rat sniffing the air in an interested manner. Some of Lottie's crumbs had dropped upon the floor, and their scent had drawn him out of his hole. Sarah had sat so quietly that the rat had begun to take courage. He was very much afraid of her, but perhaps he had a heart like the sparrow, and it told him that she couldn't hurt him. He was very hungry. He had a wife and a large family in the wall, and they were very hungry too. "Come on," said Sarah. "I'm not a trap. You can have the crumbs. Prisoners in the Bastille used to make friends with rats. Suppose I make friends with you. How is it that animals understand things I do not know? But it is certain that they do understand." The rat knew from that moment that he was safe, even though he was a rat. He was really a very nice rat, and did not mean the least harm. He went toward the crumbs and began to eat them. She sat and watched him without making any movement. One crumb was very much larger than the others. It was evident that he wanted that piece very much, but it lay quite near the footstool, and he was still rather timid. "I believe he wants to carry it to his family in the wall," Sarah thought. "If I do not stir at all, perhaps he will come and get it." The rat quickly ate a few more crumbs. Then he seized the piece of bun and slipped down a crack in the wall. "I knew he wanted it for his children," said Sarah. "I do believe I could make friends with him." A week or so afterward, on one of the nights when Ermengarde found it safe to come to the attic, she heard Sarah's voice. "There," Ermengarde heard her say, "take it and go home, Melchisedec. Go home to your wife." When Sarah opened the door, Ermengarde asked her, Who are you talking to, Sarah?" "You must promise not to be frightened, not to scream, or I can't tell you," she answered. Ermengarde managed to control herself. She looked all around the attic and saw no one. "Was it a ghost?" she asked. "No," said Sarah, laughing. "It was my rat." Ermengarde made one bound and landed in the middle of the little dingy bed. "Oh, oh," she cried, "a rat, a rat!" "I was afraid you would be frightened," said Sarah, "but you needn't be. He actually knows me and comes out when I call him. Are you too frightened to want to see him?" Sarah told her the story of her friendship with Melchisedec. Then she stood on her knees near the wall and whistled. Ermengarde thought she looked as if she were working a spell, and at last, evidently in response to it, a bright-eyed head appeared out of the hole. Sarah had some crumbs in her hand. She dropped them, and Melchisedec came and ate them. A piece of larger size than the rest he took and carried in the most businesslike manner back to his home. "You see," said Sarah, "that is for his wife and children." Ermengarde began to laugh. "You talk about Melchisedec as if he was a person." "He is a person," said Sarah. "He gets hungry and frightened, just as we do. And he is married and has children. His eyes look as if he was a person. That was why I gave him a name. Besides," she said, "he is a Bastille rat, sent to be my friend." "Is it the Bastille yet?" asked Ermengarde eagerly. "Do you always pretend it is the Bastille?" "Nearly always," answered Sarah. "Sometimes I try to pretend it is another kind of place, but the Bastille is generally easiest, particularly when it is cold." Just at that moment Ermengarde almost jumped off the bed. She was so surprised to hear 2 knocks on the wall. "What is that?" she exclaimed. Sarah answered quite dramatically, It is the prisoner in the next cell. Becky, cried Ermengarde. Yes, said Sarah. Listen, the 2 knocks meant, Prisoner, are you there? She knocked 3 times on the wall herself, as if in answer. That means, yes, I am here, and all is well. 4 knocks came from Becky's side of the wall. That means good night, explained Sarah. Oh, Sarah, whispered Ermengarde joyfully. It is like a story. It is a story, said Sarah. Everything's a story. You are a story. I am a story. Miss Minchin is a story. And they talked until it was time for Ermengarde to go back to her bed.